Hello once again. This is a video showing a series of buildings which have been underway for a little while now. And these buildings feature some different kinds of custom work than I've shown in the past, so they certainly warrant giving you a little look at them, and allows me to also do a little check with the customer before I pack them up and get them shipped out. So first, a little bit about the buildings and the project in general. The project was to paint these resin cast buildings. These are buildings that are distributed through Ravensthorpe Miniatures. These are 20 millimeter buildings. Just to give you a little size comparison, these are 15 millimeter Flames of War figures. So the 15 millimeter scale actually just about works, of course, as you might think, since 15 and 20 aren't too far apart. Anyway, the doors are just a little bit bigger, and I don't have any 20 millimeter models to show you, so just to give you a little size comparison. The buildings, I painted them interior-wise as well. All the buildings feature removable lids, except for the garage here, and interior work. The interior got really just base coated, so not much highlighting was done. Most of the time was spent on the exteriors. The buildings were, after they were painted, the customer requested a little bit more detail added to them, so I added some weathering and some staining, a bit of dirtying and some soot. These are going to be featured in a World War II gaming table for Oosterbek and Arnhem. This is, as I said, World War II, so I thought a little bit of dirt's going to mix in just fine with that. Once the buildings were painted, the customer requested that they be based. They're based on 3/16 inch hardboard, and then have an embossed, actually it's a little brighter over here, an embossed styrene sheeting of cobblestone, which the customer selected based on some previous buildings that he had done by another artist. And so then the bases were sized to provide playing space for the miniatures. So the sidewalk is 1.5 inches wide, and the interior space is 2 inches wide. One thing about that, though, is it's because the buildings are irregular, which actually is one of the nice features about the buildings, is that they do have quite a lot of nice little detail and realistic shaping. Some of the dimensions are not going to be 2 inches around the entire perimeter, just because putting 2 inches, say, from this little outcropping here adds quite a bit of distance to the overall size. So it's 2 for the majority of it, and then there may be a couple pinch points where it might be, say, a little bit narrower. Then, once the size of the buildings were done and the cobblestone was done, then the fencing was added. We also discussed fencing plans. Ironwork was requested, and so after looking at a few styles in the 20 millimeter scale, we ended up going with this iron fencing that looks a little bit like picket fence, depending on how you want to paint it up. And what I did to separate the three buildings from appearance-wise from each other is I finished each of the fences a little bit differently. So here, let's see here if you can see that. There we go. I just used the fence as it stands and ran that around black with a little touch of bolt gun slight gray highlight. Here I added, let's see if I can get out of the light for you. There we go. I added some posts, which represent cement posts, to highlight that fence, make it pop out a little bit more for the larger hotel structure, give it a little bit more of a look. For the detached house here, this got a slightly more simplified post cap only at the entrances with a little capstone on top. In the same style as the fence. And for the bungalow in the back here, I gave it a white fence, put a little dirtying on it to give it a little bit of a matching age to the rest of the house. And figured no matter what the material was, it might be nice that the homeowner in this bungalow might have painted it to match the house. So it just gives it, even though it's the same fence style, it gives each building a slightly distinctive look, but yet unifies it so that when they're placed together in a neighborhood, which is really the layout as intended, then they're not going to look too separated from each other. Let's see. One other thing I just wanted to mention is that one of the nice things about this project, it's a challenge and a benefit. I'm sorry, I'm going to get that light fixed. There we go. Is the customer sent me electronically a whole variety of photos. This is the table that eventually we're going to construct. The table is going to be over 12 feet long and 6 feet wide, so this is going to be a major undertaking. But the buildings in question are located in this panel here, and this allowed me to use this as a color guide so that I could match these buildings. These are actual photos of somebody else who's used these buildings in a very impressive display, so that I could match them to the exact color so that I could be on the same page as the customer. So it's really nice when a customer takes the extra time to find the correct color schemes and photos and such for me to work from, as it really helps to ensure that I can match their expectations on the project. So that gives you just a little sense of different kind of custom project, different kind of building to finish, and some gives you a little sense of some building work that I can do that is a little different than, say, the scratch-built buildings that I showed recently. And I should just mention that, well, a little too close and doesn't focus correctly. I should just mention, though, that as I mentioned in a previous video, right now I'm not going to be accepting any more custom work till the new year, most likely, as I have a large waiting list already assembled, and as a one-man shop, it's just taking me a little time to get through those. So if something changes, I'll be sure to let you know in subsequent videos. But until then, I thank you all for your patronage and your patience, and I look forward to showing you other custom projects as well as the finished table for this project later in the future.